There we go. Okay, so now everything is back up and running and we are ready to get going for today. So as I was stating, as we are getting into the session today, we are going to have a look at some strategy providers that are available to you as the trader and as the follower on our HF Copy platform. And more specifically, the strategy providers that we are going to have a look at today are strategy providers that make every cent count. And I'll explain as we go through the session. So as we get started, the first thing I just want to ask is that each and every one of you just familiarize yourself with the risk disclaimer that is currently being displayed on your screen. This disclaimer, in essence, just states that everything that I will be providing to you during the session is for informational purposes only, and at no point during today's session will I be providing financial advice. So please feel free to ask as many questions as you would like about this session here today, as this session is for you. This session is to assist you in making more educated decisions as you are going through your copy trading process. So let's start things off and let's have a look at the various strategy providers that we will be having a look at today. So as I said, we are going to be exploring some trading strategies provided by these strategy providers here today, and we are going to go through them together. I'm going to be analyzing them for you, and you are welcome to ask questions on each and every one of these so that I can assist you in understanding the various metrics on each and every one of these strategy providers in more detail. So, as I said, these are strategy providers that make every cent count. What does that mean? That means that these specific strategy providers that we will be looking at today are trading on the HF Copy platform on cent accounts. That is correct. They will be using cent accounts, meaning that you will also be able to follow that strategy and follow that strategy safely with a much smaller investment than normally required. Doesn't mean you can't follow them with a large amount of capital. It just means that literally because they're trading in a cent account, that based on the strategy that they are using, it might require a cent account. You'll also see a little bit larger lot sizes. Also remember, those are micro lot sizes because of the cent account. And we will be breaking them down from there on forward. Now, all three of the traders that we are looking at today are intraday day traders. And I'll explain or show you how I know this and how you can also know this when you look at other strategy providers that are available on our platform. So our very first strategy provider up today is long-term copy trade. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to zoom in for you a little bit so that you can all see everything a bit more clearer. And as I said, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. I will, however, only answer all the questions at the end so that anyone that does need to leave will be able to do so. So here we go, long-term copy trade. Now, this trader has been on our platform now for quite some time, and this is currently the 10th month that this strategy provider is now actually providing their services to other traders as well, and that you are now able to copy their strategy. So just want to make sure, okay. So here you can see he started last year, August, and this strategy provider is, well, in the beginning traded relatively aggressively, but started slowing down a little bit afterwards. Now we can see here that if you look here in August, there was 81% growth, and that kind of declined a little bit. But for the entire year of 2023, a massive 700% growth or gain was generated on this specific account. For this year so far, not doing bad at all. For January, did 23%. February was almost 10%. March, 11. April, 14. For this month, off to a slow start. But definitely there's still a lot of month left. So there is also quite a bit that we can still expect from this specific strategy provider. Now, if we do have a look at a few of the other things here at the top, we can see as well that this strategy provider currently has a risk score of 1, which means that risk score of 1, that is the best score that any strategy provider on the HF Copy platform can get, as that puts you at the top of the league. There is also a performance fee charged on this one. This specific strategy provider charges a performance fee of 30%, which means on any trade executed, there will be, or on any profits generated, there will be a 30% performance fee. So if, for instance, there is $10 worth of profit, $3 will go to the strategy provider and $7 will remain in your bank account or in your trading account. This strategy provider is also quite popular as they currently have 385 followers. So in that sense, you can see that there is quite a numerous amount of traders that are currently following this specific strategy provider. They have a max drawdown of about 25%. So that obviously adds now into your risk management when you look at various strategy providers. So now we also have to look, okay, there's a decent amount of gain that is to be generated and that could potentially be generated on your account. But obviously all that gain also comes with a risk. Now, when a strategy provider generates returns of 15%, 10%, 25% in that regard per month, and there's a max drawdown of 25%, that is relatively acceptable. When we have a strategy provider that's, for instance, generating 3% a month with a max drawdown of 30%, then we need to kind of rethink our risk management in that regard when following. Do not say you can't, you can definitely do whatever you want. I'm just saying on how I look at these various strategy providers and how I normally analyze and manage my risk when entering into anything. Because at the end of the day, choosing a strategy provider is like entering into any trade. We have to analyze the data first and then make a proper decision from there onwards. If you do have any questions so far, please do not hesitate to pop it for me into the question section. So let's scroll a little bit further down. Let's see what else. Now, this is now where we normally have a look at what type of capital do you need to invest to follow a strategy provider like this. Now, if we start right here at the top, you will see that the minimum deposit or minimum first deposit required, which is right over here. Sorry, that was like the worst line I ever drew in my life, is 10,000 cent. Okay. See that little sign there in the front? So it's a C. So that means 10,000 cent is the minimum first deposit required to enter or to start following long-term copy trade. Now, 10,000 cent is $100. Okay. Now let's have a look if that will actually be sufficient, because you obviously want to manage your risk as well. So now let's go have a look at what this strategy provider is trading with. This strategy provider is currently trading with 131,878 cent, which means they are trading with roughly $1,320. Now, if you are following them with $100, that would mean you would have 1/13 of the account size that they have. So that would mean that their average lot size that they use needs to be a 0.13 for you to safely follow them with $100 on 0.01. Okay. Are we all agreeing on this? Yes or no, traders? Just give me a yes or no in the comment section that you are agreeing with how I got to that amount. So as I'm saying, the strategy provider is trading with $1,300. And like I said, they need to then trade with at least a 0.13 for you to follow them safely on a 0.01 with $100. I hope that makes sense. I do see I have some yeses coming through. Thank you so much for that. Now, if we do have a look here, now we can see, okay, the average lot size that this strategy provider is using is a 0.67. So that means you can more than safely follow them with $100 when executing each one of these trades. You can even have lower volume allocation and even decrease your risk a little bit. Obviously, remember, if you're decreasing your risk, you're also decreasing the potential gain on the account. Okay. And then if we have a look at the last 6-7 trades entered by this specific strategy provider, we can see, here you can see the lot sizes. So 0.3, 0.3, 36, 43, 52, 62. So everything falls within that parameter that we spoke about to say, okay, they are trading at least that 0.13. So with the $100, you can very safely follow this specific strategy provider. Now, I also stated a little bit earlier that each one of the strategy providers that we'll be looking at are day traders or intraday day traders, and that we can see by having a look at their trading statistics. Now, this specific strategy provider mainly focuses on trading Euro USD and a little bit of gold. Okay, less than 1% of their trades are executed on gold, but 99.1% is all executed on gold. We can see the average length within a trade is about 7.5 hours. Okay, hence intraday, because that means, 7.5 hours, we're still within a normal day. It's basically a trading session, so intraday trader. Profitability, 67%. That is relatively good. And we can see applying a relative scalping strategy to their trades as within the last 10 months, you actually can't count this month yet, so it's only 9 months. Now, if we have to take the 9 months, they've entered a total amount of 4,444 trades. So that gives you just under or just above 450 trades a month. Now, 450 trades a month, we have 22 trading days in a month. So that drops that down to roughly about 20 trades a day. So if we're looking at 20 trades a day, hence why I said more or less day trader / scalp trader, and just taking advantage of those smaller movements within the market, capitalizing on each movement to get you a good result. We can also see here, looking at their various statistics, that they have done quite a bit of withdrawals as well. So initially starting off their account with only $100, and they have currently to date withdrawn a total profit, or have generated total profit of $1,160 on that account, of which they have withdrawn $520. Okay, so they currently trading with pure profit, withdrew most of the the entire initial investment. They did add an additional amount, and their total deposits came to 650. So withdrawing 520. So they're still trading with about $130 of their own money. The rest is all pure profit currently sitting within this account. And that is basically everything that I wanted to share with you on this one. So again, just recapping, generated proper good gains over the last 9-10 months. Quite a popular strategy provider, currently sitting on 385 traders. Good risk score, average performance fee, and just an overall trader that has good statistics, if I could put it in that way. Following that intraday trading strategy, primarily focusing on currencies, specifically Euro USD. So in my book, definitely a trader to showcase, hence why they are on this session here today. Moving on to our next one. So as you will see that as I'm moving down the line, the strategy providers get, well, slightly more aggressive. Okay, let's just leave it at that. So they'll get slightly more aggressive as we go on. So for anyone who's attended any one of my seminars, this kind of falls for me into that a trader that I can follow, as their name states, long term, because they generate a decent amount of returns for me every month. They don't take too much risk. So that for me is a good long-term investment, if you want to call it in such, where I can follow the strategy provider over a longer period of time and just kind of let my funds compound within the account. Now, moving over to our next one, which is LPL WS Plus Pro. Weirdest nickname I've seen. Okay, no, I'm lying. There's been weirder. But yes, this one, slightly less followers, currently sitting here on 17. Also has a risk score of 1. Performance fee is roughly the same. Drawdown, roughly the same. Started trading 1 month after long-term copy trade on our platform. So they started last year in September. Now, this strategy provider, slightly more aggressive, as you can see, currently averaging even this year, let's call it 20% a month. Even this month so far, up 3%, because you can see here in January, 36, 22, 12, 19. So if you kind of average that out, you'll get about 20% per month. So slightly higher gains than long-term copy trade. Also, well, this one 100% focuses on trading Euro USD. But more specifically, I wanted to check here the minimum deposit as well. It's almost, well, exactly the same as long-term copy trade. Also requires a minimum first deposit of $100. So in that regard, two strategy providers that are very similar in a lot of ways. So obviously both trading on cents accounts, both requiring that minimum 10,000 cents or $100 minimum deposit, have traded for roughly the same amount of time. The one just started 1 month earlier on our platform. And apart from that, even trading the same currency pair. So again, you can also diversify your risk now here if you wanted to, still focusing only on currencies. But by, for instance, instead of putting $200 with one strategy provider, you have the option of putting 100 with the one, 100 with the other one, diversifying your risk, as they will be trading roughly the same thing. So, well, they're trading exactly the same thing, trading both Euro USD. But in that regard, you have then the option to have two traders' opinions on the trades being executed. So again, diversifying your risk and not just putting all your eggs in one basket. This trader, a bit more on the day trader side than intraday trader side. So you can see entered less than half the trades entered by our previous trader. So our previous trader, you remember, was 4,444. This one is 1,796. So like I said, less than half. So a little bit more on the day trader side. Success rate sitting at 58%, so slightly lower as well than our previous strategy provider, but also keeping trades for a much longer time period. So instead of roughly about 7.5 hours, this trader stays in an average trade for about 17 hours and 5 minutes. But now again, remember, we stated that this strategy provider has a minimum deposit of $100. Now, will I be able to follow this strategy provider with $100 safely? Now, if we have a look, this strategy provider is currently trading with a 43,100, let's call it that, 43,100 cent account, which means it is $430, which means every time they enter a trade, they need to be at least in a 0.04, 0.05 for me to be able to safely follow them with that $100 with a 0.01. Now we can see that the average lot size entered actually by the strategy provider is a 0.49, which is literally 10 times larger than the lot size that we just discussed, which means it will be 100%. I don't want to use the word 100% safe, but you will be able to follow the strategy provider exactly the way they trade. And you will also be able to have a look at, again, looking when you start following to, if you want to take less risk and just follow the strategy, you will also be able to lower your volume allocation, and it will still be able to execute properly with no problems on your side. Again, traders, if you have any questions for me, please feel free to ask. I'm here to help. I'm here to assist in making this as informative as possible. And here you can see as well, looking at just their last few trades, some of their trades were even larger than that average. So again, just adding to that consistency. And also, if you wanted to start the $100, will it be sufficient? Yes, it would, to follow the strategy provider strategy as traded by them. Moving on to our last strategy provider for this session. Now, this strategy provider comes out of the Philippines, and this one has a much lower minimum deposit required, which is only sitting at 5,000 cents, which is $50. Now, few things to note about the strategy provider. Yes, the strategy provider has a lower drawdown than both. Okay, also has less followers than both, also has a lower performance fee than both. So it's a cheaper strategy provider, if I want to call it that, to follow than the other two. However, this strategy provider does take a bit more risk to get those gains. So for instance, uses larger lot sizes for smaller gains or smaller movements within the market to capitalize on those movements. So again, getting that risk score of 3 instead of the other two that we looked at, which was a 1. So definitely taking slightly more risk on each and every one of their trades. More importantly, this strategy provider is a lot newer to our platform, where this is now currently only their 4th month. So why put them in the ring with traders that have been going for 10 months? Well, if you look at the returns this specific strategy provider has generated over the last 4 months, that's kind of why I wanted to feature the strategy provider here today, because that is worth looking at. If we look at February, 37%, March, 384%, April, 127%, and for the month of May, already sitting on 32%. So definitely a strategy provider that is generating some proper gains for their clients on a weekly and monthly basis. And you can also see that they have also generated proper profits and withdrawn a lot of those profits, currently sitting at total profits generated of $351, and $268 of that profits have already been withdrawn. This strategy provider, very different than the other two, takes a more diversified approach to their trading. So instead of just focusing on Euro USD, this strategy provider only trades currencies, but trades Euro USD, GBP USD, AUD CAD, CHF JPY, Euro AUD, and Euro GBP. So there's about 6 currency pairs there. So a bit more diversification between that. So if that is something that you are looking for, definitely something to maybe consider. And then definitely more of a day trader than a scalp trader. As you can see here, the average trade held is more than 24 hours with an average of 27 hours per trade. So definitely more of a day trader. Has a very good success rate on all their trades, 72.78%. And as well, if you can see with the amounts of trade entered, you'll also see a lot less than some of the other ones that we already looked at so far today. Again, adding to that day trading strategy. But more importantly, let's quickly have a look at the viability of your capital following them with a starting balance of $50. Now, currently in their account is, let's call it $460. So if you were following them with only $50, that would require at least a 0.09, maybe even a 0.1 minimum lot size from the strategy provider for you to copy their strategy as is with $50, where they are using a average lot size of 0.71. So again, 7 times larger than the number we just discussed. So definitely a viable option as well. And you will be able to duplicate the strategy as is and as traded by the strategy provider with that $50, taking the exact same amount of risk as the strategy provider. And as I said, you can even take less risk if you wanted to, if you didn't necessarily want to generate 100% or 380% on 1 month. and you were happy with half of that, then you can take half the risk that the specific strategy provider has taken on their average trades. And then traders, that is basically the general information that I wanted to share with you. Thank you for joining me for Every Cent Counts. And now I'm going to open the floor for additional questions. So in the comment section, please pop up any questions that you might have, or in the chat section, just put a question for me in there, and I will answer any questions that you have going forward. If you need to go, and because this was obviously a lunchtime session, hence why I try to keep it as brief and as informative as possible. So if you need to go, feel free, and then you can have a fantastic day further. Okay, cool. Let me see. I have my first question coming in here from Monica. Monica says, how do I copy the trades? Very simple, Monica. You're just going to click on this green follow button. Once you've clicked on that follow button, it will ask you then to log in into your trading account. And then it will ask you 4 questions. Okay. First question is, how much capital are you allocating to the account? And second one would be your volume allocation. If you want to follow the strategy provider as is, please select volume allocation 100%. And then it also has a rescue level. So where is your cutoff rate? And then the last one is copy minimum and maximum trade volumes. Traders, what I'm also going to do for you to assist you for today is I'm going to set the links for each one of the strategy providers that we had a look at here today into the comment section, so that you can literally just click on those links and it will take you straight to this fact sheet that I'm also looking at if you want to go and read through them and go through them in more detail. Okay. Are we not touching on premium strategy providers? So not in this session. This session was specifically for cent accounts. I will be hosting another one next week. During that one, we will be looking at strategy providers on trading on only pro accounts. And then we'll be having a look at strategy providers only trading premium accounts after that. And I have a few more surprises up my sleeve for some of the other sessions that we will be hosting. But please ensure to be on the lookout for each and every one of these sessions, as there will be one every week where we will be discussing these various points throughout every one of those. But the specific strategy provider or the specific strategy session, as the banner stated, is Every Cent Counts, hence primarily focusing on cent accounts during our session here today. Okay. Thank you. It's an absolute pleasure. Thank you for that. Thank you for your time, sir. Very concise and informative indeed. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate that as well. And then thank you. Lunchtime well spent. Mr. Andy, thank you so much for joining today. Thank you for that. So traders, if there's no other questions, I will be bidding you all a farewell. If you do see, I have another thank you coming through. Thank you for all of you as well. Okay, Monica, can you advise on risk levels for 100? Okay, I can't advise, but I can give you my opinion on this. Okay, so what do you mean by 100? Okay, 100 what? Can you help me out, Monica? So 100 what? I have another thank you coming through. Thank you so much for that. I do appreciate all the feedback so far. $100. Okay, so risk level, as I stated, every single one of the strategy providers that we looked at here today, you can follow their strategies as per what they are trading with the minimum first deposit required by them. So this one required a minimum first deposit of $50. This one was 100. This one was also 100. And if we looked at all their financials plus their average trade size, you'll be able to follow the strategy exactly the way the strategy provider is trading with $100. So you won't be taking more risk than the strategy provider. You'll be able to manage your risk the exact same way the strategy provider is managing their risk. So in my opinion, I'm not giving advice now, in my opinion, following any one of these strategy providers with $100, obviously, please remember that no past data guarantees future gains. Okay, you have to accept this. This is trading still. So no past results can guarantee us any future results. Okay. But based on the data that we have seen from these strategy providers, following them with $100, as per the risk management that they currently have, you will be in a relative, let's call it safe space. Okay. Because if you would have to lose that $100, the strategy provider will also have to lose their entire account. Okay. If that makes sense. Any other questions, traders? Are we all good? Nothing? All fantastic. Well, then I am going to say thank you. Okay, good. Thank you, Monica. I appreciate that. Awesome. So, traders, just one last time popping up that risk disclaimer. Again, thank you so much for joining me here today. Thank you for giving me your time. Looking forward to seeing you in our next session, where we will be looking at showcasing some more strategy providers, assisting you to broaden your knowledge on these various strategy providers, having a better look at some of them, and also assisting you in diversifying your portfolio so that you're not just having everything with one specific copy trader and you have a few options to choose from. So have a fantastic day further, and I look forward to seeing you in our next session. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.